Tonight on Game Plan.
We ain't gonna say sorry for out here hitting. We live practices. We gotta get our work in too.
Week 2 of training camp is bringing contact and boosting concentration.
So I thought they came back and responded.
We've got former Saints linebacker Curtis Lofton in studio to talk about the importance of intensity.
The old mentality is be the hammer, not the nail. They're competing, and that's what you want.
Plus, we're delving into the wide-open competition at CeeLo's former position, linebacker, and the crowded backfield on offense.
From FOX8 Sports, this is Game Plan Training Camp, sponsored by Southern Quality Ford, Home Bank, and Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Saints training camp is officially in full speed ahead mode. Welcome to Game Plan. I'm Juan Kincaid. Sean Vazan is on assignment, but we'll hear from him in just a few minutes. Sean Payton is stuck to his camp plan, and it looks a lot like last year's in West Virginia. 5 practices, a day off, and continue on. It's what makes camp the grind that it is. But now a lot of the focus has shifted to the team's first preseason game on August 10th.
Obviously real important because, you know, this is all new. The speed of the game's new, and you're hoping to establish some confidence in those players. You know, once they begin to do it and then have some success, you want to build on them and improve. So, you know, when you get to go against someone else who's doing their job 100%, you know, you really get a better feel.
When the pads went on the first Saturday of camp, few guys were as happy about that as Adrian Peterson was. The presumed future Hall of Famer said that's when you find out who likes to hit and be hit. There's been plenty of hitting in this camp thus far, and as Sean Vazan reports, not everyone has liked getting hit.
It isn't just the Louisiana summer temperatures heating things up at Saints camp. On the field, the intensity has been red hot as well.
I think the key is, you know, the competitive nature of each of these drills, and we've got to, as coaches, you know, make sure and create that.
Perhaps it's the different climate. Perhaps it's new faces on the roster. Or maybe it's a team just tired of being mediocre for 3 straight seasons. Whatever the reason, there's no denying this training camp through the first 7 practices has been lively, which has always been the plan, according to head coach Sean Payton.
You know, it's up to us as coaches to, as much as anything, create those environments and put these players in a position where it's not just important, it's vital.
Sometimes those competitive juices have led to chippiness amongst teammates. Thus far, there's been at least 5 different dust-ups. On back-to-back days, Kobe Fleener and Von Bell mixed it up.
Me and him been going back at it for a couple of days now, so we're going to see what happens, where that goes. But I enjoy it. I'm just out here having fun. Like Coach AG tell us, man, we just setting our standard. We're just going out here just competing. We ain't going to say sorry for out here hitting. We live practices. We got to get our work in, too, so we're just out here just having fun with each other.
Bell is part of a secondary that's made a pledge to be more scrappy in 2017.
We're friends with all these guys, I mean, in this locker room. As soon as you step these white lines, I mean, there's no friendships between offense and defense, especially us in the back end. You know, there's a lot of guys who, you know, obviously fighting for roster spots and things like that, but it's one of those things that we want to demoralize those guys. We want to make you feel like, we want to make your wide receiver coach feel like he's not coaching well enough.
From a passion standpoint, Payton has liked what he's seen, but cautioned his team that effort is not a part-time job. It has to come every time they step on the field.
I think we've had some good periods, and yet I'd say, you know, look, this is a young team, and it's still teaching them that, you know, you got to. Last night, one of the topics in our meeting was, you know, defending and protecting every blade of grass, and we had just examples of plays over time. And you guys don't remember Ben Watson at New England chasing a Champ Bailey 98 yards downfield, or Malcolm Jenkins at Dallas, you know, covering a receiver and stripping the ball out late on a Thanksgiving night, or Malcolm in Tampa for that matter. Nobody knows when they're going to occur, but those are game-changing moments. So when you think you're playing hard, it's kind of a relative term, you know, and so I think we still have work to do there.
The good news is that it's work this group seems to enjoy doing. With the Saints in Metairie, I'm Sean Vazan, FOX8 Sports.
Always nice to talk Saints with a former Saint and Curtis Lofton, the linebacker for 3 years with the black and gold. And Sean Vazan has mentioned about all the scuffles that have happened in training camp so far. We're looking at 5 in the first 5 days of camp. Is that normal for this early in the camp?
I wouldn't say it's normal, but I love it. I think what it shows is guys are competing at a high level, and whenever you're competing at a high level, things get a little chippy, get a little rough, and that's what we need. You know, I think a couple of the guys who've gotten a fight is Kobe Fleener, and, you know, one of the things was his toughness was questioned.
Yeah, him and Von Bell.
Him and Von Bell. So you see him like, hey, you know, I'm not taking it. Yeah. And you want that, and guys are pushing each other to be better, and that's what's going to take them to the next level. When
you put the pads on, which the Saints did last Saturday, is that a recipe for the fights, the scuffles, the pushing, the extra stuff?
It takes it to a whole nother level when you put those pads on. And those guys who run around in shorts that look good and do all those things, when you put the pads on, you can see if they can still do those. Yeah. And it separates the boys from the men.
It's like Adrian Peterson said, when you put the pads on, you'll find out who likes to hit and who likes to be hit. That's how a physical player thinks going into this part of training camp, don't they?
Oh, the old mentality is be the hammer, not the nail. Mm-hmm. And that's the approach I always took. And I know as a linebacker, that's what the linebackers take. And you always want to get that first hit to get you settled in. And once you get that hit, it turns you into a whole nother player.
So I'm going to change you from a linebacker to head coach. Be Sean Payton for a second. When you look at the running back field, Kamara, Ingram, Peterson, 3 capable guys there. If you're the head coach, how do you utilize those 3 players?
Oh, man, that's tough. Sean's in a sticky situation because if you look at Mark Ingram and the success he's had over the last 2 years, he has the most yards after contact than any running back in the league. But then on the other hand, you got Adrian Peterson, who has the potential to take it to the house every single time he touches the ball. And Alvin, who is just a threat out of the backfield, whether he's running the ball or receiving. And I think so you get to a situation where you use Alvin as your third down back, and then you use Mark and AD as your 2-headed monster running the ball on first and second down.
Who could end up being the most influential running back on this football team?
I think the most influential running back will be Adrian Peterson. Okay. Because like I previously stated, Adrian offers you the ability to take it to the house every single time he touches the rock.
The Alvin Kamara pickup is interesting because we always talk about they haven't had this kind of running back since they had Darren Sproles or Reggie Bush. How much have you seen of Kamara and what he will provide for this football team offensively going forward?
Everyone always wants to compare him to a Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles is Darren Sproles. No one's going to beat him.
But they haven't had that kind of running back since Darren left here. Having trouble finding that kind of back.
Yes, but I think that he's that type of player, and I think he'll add another level to the check downs, swinging them out of the bag, getting him mismatched on safeties and linebackers. And I think, you know, we missed that since Darren Sproles, and so he's going to be able to fill that role and have those plays called for him.
On the other side of the line, if you look on the outside with the wide receivers, and you're talking about a player that's really blossomed in this training camp so far and shown well, Brandon Coleman. He said, quote, "This time is now for him." 4 years into this team now, it really is time for him to kind of show up. And he has an opportunity with Brandon Cooks now gone.
The time is now because the potential everyone keeps talking about, potential can only last you so long. So it's time for him to live up to his potential. And he's been doing that in practice, making all kinds of catches. But I think the one thing that he needs to do is transition from being a great practice player to being a great game player. And so if he can make that change, it's all good for him.
I know you're excited about Coleman early on, but at what point do you say, okay, I need to see this in week 3 or 4 of the preseason? And how can this translate over to the regular season play?
I think you don't need to see it in week 2 and 3. I think you need to see it the entire preseason because we've seen him go and have one good game. We see him come back and have a terrible game. So we need to see the consistent play from him to let us know, hey, he's finally made that jump, and he's someone that we can count on, and he's going to take the game to another level.
With Michael Thomas as a second-year player, now he was so good as a rookie last year. Brandon Cooks, as we mentioned, is now gone. How much pressure is on Thomas to be even better, if that's possible, than last year?
I don't think any pressure.
Really?
Not at all. I think he's finally into his own. He started last year, was a great year for him, and he figured out what the NFL's about, and now he's ready to turn into the monster that Sean was hoping when he drafted he could be. And I think you see that. He has the size, he has the hands, he has the speeds, and he has that nasty attitude you want. And I look forward to seeing a big year from him.
The biggest question mark in this offensive line, who's going to play center? With Max Unger dealing with the injury situation there, you're not sure when he's coming back, but they've had a hard time in camp right now with guys making simple shotgun snaps. How concerning is that for this team right now, and when does it become a major situation going forward?
I think it's a huge concern because anytime you have all these playmakers around, if you can't get the snap, then Adrian can't run the ball, Mark can't run the ball, Drew can't throw it to the wide receivers. So getting the snap is vital. And I think these centers need to get it underhand because, this is a huge opportunity for them with Unger out. And if not, then Sean's going to have to go find someone else.
I know, again, Unger expected to be back hopefully by the 3rd preseason game, but that may linger on because, as you said, it's about getting him back completely healthy, not bringing him back 90%, and then all of a sudden another injury happens, you've lost him for the regular season.
You don't want, with these kind of injuries, I've seen these end guys' careers because they try to come back too soon. So take your time, come back healthy, whether it's week 3, week 4, and then we have 12 games to go and ride out and use you and take us to that next level as playoffs.
Yeah, got to take your time with the injuries. Curtis Lofton, our guest here on Game Plan. When we come back, we'll talk about his favorite position, linebacker. Still to come here on Game Plan, the competition at linebacker is wide open. We'll hear from the slew of veterans and young players all vying to get into the rotation. And Curtis will want to get in on that discussion coming right up. In the meantime, be sure to check out the Final Play app where we've got all of our stories from camp so far, plus videos, blogs, analysis, and slideshows. You can download it now from your App Store or Google Play.
You're watching Game Plan Training Camp.
When it comes to filling out the roster, the Saints front office was most aggressive with the linebacker position. The goal seems to be get a bunch of talented players in and let them decide who starts in the end. Chris Hagan has more.
The rotation of linebackers being used in Saints training camp combines players from all different walks of the NFL, from those acquired via free agency down to some drafted by the black and gold. None of that matters now. All that's important is fitting them together to give the position a much-needed upgrade. Taking the lead on that so far is A.J. Klein.
Well, I think that's just what the position requires. I don't necessarily try to hoot and holler, but I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And I think that falls on the Mike backer, that falls on the linebacker core in general.
And for the better, that's the stance that the whole group's taken, rotating positions and working together to find out who fits best at which spot.
I don't really think it's too challenging. It just entails different responsibilities for me. Last few years, I was always a guy that went from position to position, so I'm used to it.
AJ, Craig, Nate, Mike, Manti, your staff, all of them do a good job of helping me out. I think we have a really unselfish room and guys that are willing to help out.
But that doesn't mean they don't know what's at stake with so much depth at the position. The competition is bound to eventually create some separation.
It's just going to bring the best out of all of us. I think that, we're all competitors and that we all want a starting job. So, you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to. So I think it just brings the best out of everyone.
But the term competition is relative. At the end of the day, players are competing for jobs, but the bigger goal is to improve the whole linebacker group and the whole team. It's a mentality that, like wisdom, comes with age.
Once you're coming in, you're kind of like all about me. Like I'm trying to make my name known and trying to make it, per se, But now that I kind of going on year 6 and everything like that, I've kind of done that thing. But right now I want to win. I want to bring a championship back to New Orleans.
Stupar says he knows his role as a backup linebacker who makes his living on special teams, and hopefully sooner than later, the rest of the position starts to find their niche as well. But no matter where they land, one thing above all else has to be present.
The most important thing is the communication between the backers in the front and then the backers in the back end. So it's a learning process, and we're working through things.
Reporting for Game Plan, I'm Chris Hagan.
Once again, joined by Curtis Lofton, former Saint. When you look at the Saints linebacker situation right now, they brought a lot of players in during their offseason. One guy, A.J. Klein, the first guy they signed as soon as free agency opened, backed up Luke Kuechly at Carolina. You know both players very well. How would you compare and contrast those two players?
They're very similar. Let's look at Luke. Luke's 6'3", Klein's 6'1". They're both, Luke runs a 4.5, Klein runs a 4.6. And so you look at what the Saints are hoping that he turns into a Luke Kuechly, that Luke is a superstar, and I think Klein has the potential to be a star. So it's splitting edges, but I think one of the things that separates them is Klein hasn't had to be a leader. He hasn't had to wear the dot. And that takes your conditioning to a whole other level. That takes everything, because you're controlling the whole defense, because he sat behind two really good linebackers in Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, and now he's the guy. And how can he handle being the guy?
And the players around him are watching him. They have to be able to trust. Oh, you've been in that situation. They have to be able to trust what you say to put guys in the right position. You're the quarterback of the defense.
And I think one of the things that is different, when you come to another team, you have to establish yourself. You have to gather the respect. But he doesn't have to do that because he was at Carolina. So the players know him. They respect him already. And so from practice, of what we've seen from him so far, he's in for a big year. He's taken over that leadership position, and he's vocal, and I can't wait to see what he does this year.
I think what's interesting with these linebackers is Stephon Anthony is a kid that couldn't get on the field last year. He was a leading tackler, one of them, 2 years ago. Mike Nolan all of a sudden comes and takes over the linebackers, and Stephon's back at that will position. What has changed there, do you think?
Well, you know, people always say it takes, when players go somewhere else and flourish, it was a change of scenery that helped him change. But I think what's helping Steph change now is a change of coaching staff, brings guys in, they see different things, they see the potential in him. He's athletic, he's tall, he can run, and he's physical. And I think he has the makings to be a Pro Bowl player, and just getting the right coaches to coach him up and to teach him is what he needed, and I look for a big year from him as well.
A lot of the concentration right now is on that first preseason game on August 10th. What is the goal and the focus of this football team as you get closer to that game?
The goal is, number one, is to keep everyone healthy. Yeah. Goal number two is you want to be clean. You don't want holding penalties. You don't want personal fouls. You don't want flags. You want all that stuff to be a part. But also, you want to get in situations that are learning points, so once the season comes along, you're not dealing with those same mistakes.
Yep, no doubt about that. It's Curtis Lofton, former Saint. Nice to have you with us once again, Curtis.
Good to be back.
Curtis will be right back here next Thursday night as our analyst for the Saints preseason game. The opener is at Cleveland, then another road game with the LA Chargers on Sunday the 20th. Black and Gold are back in the Big Easy for their home preseason opener on the 26th. That's a Saturday night kickoff against the Texans. Then it's the Ravens to close out the preseason schedule. Our coverage starts at 6:30 each night. Preseason will be the first chance to see Adrian Peterson in a Saints jersey, but he's got plenty of backs chomping at the bit to get their touches too. Hear how it's all playing out so far when we come back.
You're watching Game Plan Training Camp.
The most talked about position, not only during training camp but leading up to it, has been running back. And Adrian Peterson is the big reason why. Peterson's understandably the headliner, but he's not the only one worth getting excited about. Here's Garland Gillen.
A week into training camp, and Adrian Peterson's transition from Minnesota to the Black and Gold looks to be going very smoothly.
It feels good, you know. I can definitely say it's a different tempo, which I like, and I was able to assume that, you know, doing OTAs and kind of try to get high guys for practicing.
With the Black and Gold, his job duties will no doubt change. He was ground and pound with the Vikings, but in New Orleans, he'll be used in the passing game also.
That was one of the most intriguing things, you know, about the New Orleans Saints and their offense, was to be involved and be able to be in a lot of different positions that we really didn't take advantage of in Minnesota.
Breeze going to throw the screen pass right side. Ingram, he's got running room inside the 10, 5. He'll waltz into the end zone untouched. 20.
His backfield mate Mark Ingram is 6 years into the Saints system. He knows most of the ins and outs of Sean Payton's offense, but he's still learning.
Single person's doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know a lot of the times what my fullback or what the offensive line is doing based on over front or under front or a jam front.
AD is yet to win a Super Bowl ring, but feels his best chance is here. He had one shot before at a title, but his present team derailed those plans.
I would say 2009. I'm sure you would say, well, sure, you know, but you know, just getting ready for that season and you know having Favre in the picture. You know, for me it was like bam. So it's the first time you really have a quarterback that's proven. I'm excited about this as well because Breeze is that same type of player. You know, so yeah, it's time to get rolling, man.
With his age and experience, Peterson will not go every day of training camp, but so far he's only missed one workout. In Metairie, Garland Gillen for Game Plan.
Garland has also been busy at camp, getting hundreds of snapshots from practice. Check out our slideshow on the Final Play app, which once again can be downloaded from your App Store or Google Play. When we come back, we're taking a trip to Canton, Ohio, where the spotlight will shine on a pair of Saints this week, owner Tom Benson and the Great Dane, Morton Anderson.
You're watching Game Plan Training Camp.
Little by little, the Saints are making their mark on the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Owner Tom Benson was honored on Thursday as the stadium was renamed in his honor, thanks to a donation of $10 million made to help with renovations back in 2014. The Great Dane, Morton Anderson, kicked for the Black and Gold from 1982 to 1994 and was chosen to be enshrined as the third representative of the team. Sean Vazan will have reports from Canton all weekend as Morton Anderson is celebrated and enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you can't get to the TV, check out our stories on the Final Play app and follow Sean on Twitter. And that's our show for tonight. A big thanks to Curtis Lofton for stopping by, and we look forward to having his expertise all preseason. I'm Juan Kincaid. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
This has been Game Plan Training Camp. Saints preseason starts in 7 days, and you can only see it on Fox 8. Your home for the Saints.